Welcome to a little bit of fun in the lab networking with Fishstyle. We're going to go ahead and keep that network detective badge on, and we're going to dive in together and do a CyberFlood troubleshooting ride along. So quick spoiler alert. If you don't want to go through all of this and the step-by-steps of trying to figure things out, you can go right into the YouTube and go all the way down to the bottom, and I will put spoiler in there. So if you want to just go ahead and click the start there, I will tell you what the problem was and how we solved it. And it's all the way at the end. If you want to go ahead and continue on the ride along, feel free and just enjoy. So everything was working. 2 changes were made. So unlike a normal network, I'm going to tell you 2 changes were made, only 2 changes were made. And because of those 2 changes, now the CyberFlood test doesn't work. So these are our facts. Everything was working. I made 2 changes and the CyberFlood test doesn't work anymore. So what I like to, I really love troubleshooting actually, being a network detective. So it's like the case of the missing packets. Well, we're not getting any packets, nothing's working. So when we have that, we're very similar to detectives, whereas this is our crime scene and we have to figure out who done it, where it did, when, how, by what, was it the candlestick in the conservatory? And then get to problem solve. And we want to do that in a timely fashion. So what I like to do is I have a certain methodology since I've been doing troubleshooting so many years in my career. I just love it. So I'm not going to explain all of this. There is a Cisco Live presentation and some blogs on that. But just to let you know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what my thinking looks like when I'm getting on the case for a problem, for troubleshooting. So what I want to do first is I want to find the suspect. So we have this entire environment. It's not as big as like a network, production network, but it's also the reason why in the last video I called out those Nexus 9Ks. The reason is because since this is a crime scene, knowing and having an honest representation and an updated representation of your crime scene map is critical, in my opinion. So we now know that we have those Nexus 9Ks. What I want to do is I want to kind of sort of make one first pass. I'll be looking for the quick confessions, the obvious clues, like a cable's down, right? 100% failure. I made 2 changes. I haven't told you what the changes are yet. So is there a cable down? So I'm maybe looking for quick confessions, obvious clues. I tend to do a couple troubleshooting passes. The first one's just a quick scan over of the crime scene, looking again for those, cables, down, whatever, some routing flaps. I'm looking for the usual suspects, I'll call them. So once I do the first troubleshooting pass, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take this whole network, and I don't want to be in each place, and I'm trying to figure out which parts of the network seem to be calling me. So Gil Grissom in the CSI series would say, let the evidence guide you. So I'm looking for evidence to guide me and to call me into where I want to go. So we're going to do a couple troubleshooting passes. We're going to get stuck. If you look down at the bottom, we're doing the find the suspect. So that's the methodology. It's gather the facts, collect the clues, follow the evidence, interview the witnesses, question the suspects. Once you get to a suspect, then you can question that suspect. But, gather the facts, collect the clues. You're trying to reduce your suspect pool so that you can then only ask certain people. Now, what's going to happen in this situation is it's going to be outside of my wheelhouse. Just to let you know, it's going to be outside of my knowledge base. So I'm going to be completely stuck. And you'll see, as part of being a good network detective, knowledge is key. And so there's knowledge that I don't know, which is the reason why this happened the way it did. So we're going to get stuck. I'm going to go ask for help and I'm going to get knowledge. And then we're going to get to problem solved. So here we go. So just to review the facts, everything was working. I made 2 changes and now nothing's working. So let's go ahead and talk about those 2 changes that I made. So, because I'm being extremely clear about the fact that I know that these 2 changes caused it. So let's talk about the 2 changes. So change number 1 Ethernet 111 on the Nexus 9K was changed from being a VLAN 11 access port to being a trunk port with VLAN 11 allowed. Now, just FYI, what I do like to do is you'll see that that connection between the Nexus 9K, Ethernet 111, and the CyberFlood is actually a dashed line. I like having the crime scene map or the diagram try to give me additional information. So when there's a trunk port, I actually like to have it be dotted, dashed. So you'll probably notice on my diagrams that I try to do something that indicates that that's the case, that it's a trunk port. So this is a clue. To me, it's a clue because any kind of change that happened, everything was working, I made 2 changes, everything's broken. That's going to be a clue. Now, it may not pan out like a lot of clues don't, but to me, that's a clue. I have to pay attention to it. I have to at least hold that loosely as I'm trying to figure things out. Now, obviously, a trunk port is a trunk port on both sides. So if I made a change over on the Nexus 9K for that to be a trunk port, then the CyberFlood virtual router on the client side needs to send the VLAN 11 tag. So I went and changed that on the CyberFlood as well. So I went to the CyberFlood and I changed to include VLAN 11 tag. Now it's on the trunk link. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, you know what, I'm already holding that this area right up here is suspicious. You know, like let me put a little evidence marker on there. That's definitely suspicious. So I'm just going to kind of try to hold that lightly. It could be something else completely different. Maybe something I didn't know about. Somebody bumped a cable between the Nexus 9K and the firewall. Troubleshooting pass number 1, again, is a quick look. I'm looking for quick confessions, obvious clues. We're going to go clear counters on the Nexus 9K. We're going to go start the CyberFlood test. Once the CyberFlood test starts to run, I'm going to go to the firewall and we're going to ping the client-side VR and we're going to ping the server-side VR. And then we're going to check out the counters because I did clear counters on the Nexus 9K. And by the way, I'm a little lucky because the Nexus 9K on both sides of my firewalls is the same Nexus 9K, just 4 different ports. So I can do a clear counters once. And I kid, you know, we're gathering the facts, collecting the clues, following the evidence, interviewing the witnesses. So a witness to me is any device here that has seen or not seen a packet. And that is interviewing the witnesses to me. So then we'll go check out the counters on there. So let's go ahead and go over to Secure CRT. And that is my firewall. So let's go ahead and go over here and I'm going to do a CC, which is actually just an alias for clear counters. So we're going to go ahead and clear all the counters. And by the way, I have another alias, which is counters, which is show me the interfaces and exclude the space, 0 space. So show me the ones that are only active. So we can see right now that we aren't really getting much in on E111. Okay. So we've cleared the counters. So now we're going to go ahead and start the CyberFlood test. So let's go start the CyberFlood test. And I'm just going to go ahead and click. Well, we'll show here. So this is the client VR. And as you can see, I have VLAN ID 11 now on it. It was the only change I made on the CyberFlood. So let's go ahead and start this off. And once this gets started, I'll go ahead and do exactly what we talked about, which was pinging from the firewall. So here we go. Our test is running. It's only going to run for 2 minutes. And as you can see, it is trying to do 100 simulated users per second. We got no bandwidth happening. It's a big fat nothing. And everything is unsuccessful. So we're supposed to go ahead and go over now to the firewall. And so if I come over to the firewall, I'm using Secure CRT. So I'm just going to click down here, ping. So this is pinging the client side, CyberFlood client side virtual router, which I can get to. So 10.11.03. And then pinging the server side. So, okay, so I can get to the client side virtual router. So that was like, okay, well, that's if someone had come to me and said, without me, of course, knowing what the answer is, that would be weird to me. And that I could ping the client side VR. So, because I told you all that I made 2 changes and it was because of those 2 changes that everything was broken. And so you might have expected that we couldn't ping the client side VR, but we can. So let's go ahead, and we've cleared the counters on the Nexus 9K. We started the CyberFlood test. We did the test. We cleared the counters out on the relevant interfaces on the Nexus 9K. So let's go ahead and go over to the Nexus 9K and go up and see what's coming in on Ethernet 111. Now this is, 6 packets, here are the octets, and then going out. Now, first and foremost, does this tell us anything? Let's say it wasn't 6. Let's say it was a few hundred. The thing is that it's hard to figure out a fact from a clue. A fact is, okay, so there's 6 packets. A clue is knowing what normal is when this test is running, and then knowing if that's not normal, in my opinion. But anyway, basically, what have we learned in pass number 1? We learned that we were 100% unsuccessful. We also learned that the client-side CyberFlood virtual router still responds to pings. We also learned that the server-side CyberFlood virtual router still responds to pings. And that Ethernet 111 on the Nexus 9K doesn't seem to indicate that traffic is coming in from the CyberFlood. And admittedly, I wasn't going to show you that, but I did. The CyberFlood doesn't show that it's really sending traffic. So if we look at these two things while I'm trying to gather facts, I'm trying to figure out what's the most important stuff, it's really right here. It's 100% unsuccessful. Ethernet 111 on the Nexus 9K doesn't seem to indicate. So I'm just going to forget everything else. I've found my suspect. I have found my suspicious area. Now I'm going to go ahead and dive into this. So troubleshooting pass number 2, we're going to follow the evidence. So I'm going to go back to clear counters on the Nexus 9K. I'm going to start a trial run of the CyberFlood test. When I do a trial run of the CyberFlood test, I'm going to get PCAPs. Why? Well, now I'm wondering, am I connected? Did something happen? Like, does the CyberFlood not support trunk ports? Did it go error disable? I mean, what happened? Am I connected to the right cable? So I'm going to clear counters on the Nexus 9K again, just because that's my habit. I tend to clear counters and clear logs. I'm going to start a trial run so I can get PCAPs. I'm going to actually ping again, once the test runs, the client-side virtual router. Why am I going to do that? I already know the answer, which is the ping will be successful. So why repeat that one? Well, because I'm going to ping from the firewall. I'm going to run this. So I'm wondering whether or not that ping is going to show up in the PCAP. So I'm using it for a different reason. I can ping. I'm pinging to 10.11.03. Maybe I have a duplicate IP address someplace and I'm going someplace else and the CyberFlood doesn't even get it. So then we're going to go ahead and look at the PCAPs. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and go back over here and we're going to do a clear counters again. And then I'm going to come over to the firewall, to the CyberFlood. And I'm going to do a trial run. I'm going to do a trial run so I can get the PCAPs. Not really superly interested in the server-side PCAPs. I only care about the client-side PCAPs. Let's let this run. Okay, so as we can see, our trial run has started. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the secure CRT. I'm going to go over into the firewall. And I am going to ping the client VR. Again, I knew it would be successful, expected it to be successful, but I did that so that I could figure out what's actually, do I see that ping over in that PCAP? So now we're going to go ahead and go back over with the trial, and we're going to download that PCAP. So now we're done, so let's go ahead and do a download, debugging files, and we'll just go ahead and open it right up. So if we look here, we have 37 packets. So that doesn't exactly tell me that the test ran. So I am inside of the CyberFlood saying, what do you think you're sending? And so I got 37 packets in that trial run. And they're right here. And all they are ARPs and ICMP. And the ARPs are, so this is it, but we see the ping that I have here. So now I'm stumped. I'm out of my depths. Got the client-side PCAP shows the pings and the ARPs. The client-side PCAP shows basically nothing else. With the source IP address of 10.101 at all from the clients, I mean, nothing. So now I have to go ask for help and gain knowledge. And what I learn is that the fact is that in CyberFlood, the client-side subnet also has to be tagged with VLAN 11. I told you that they're not really, there's just a construct where they're connected together, the clients and the CyberFlood VR. So if we make the CyberFlood VR in subnet 10.11 and we make that a trunk port, we apparently have to make the clients also and put that into VLAN 11. Now, for us networking people, that was confusing to me. I'm like, but it's not. But it's a virtual router. It's just a construct. Let's go ahead and do what my Spirent guy told me to do. And we're going to go add. So let's go back over to CyberFlood. We're going to come in here. And I'm going to come in here and come right down here. I'm going to add VLAN. I'm going to add VLAN 11. And I'm going to update. And, oh, by the way, when I did that, if we look, when you actually edit it, save to library. Remember, clients is also a construct that I have over here. So save to library. I want this to always be that case. So I tend to have it on and just use a different name sometimes. So now my clients also have VLAN 11 in it, and it's getting tagged, as well as my CyberFlood virtual. So now let's go ahead and save this and run it. And so here we are. The traffic is running. And not only do we have the CyberFlood attempting to do stuff, but look, we have load. We actually have like 8.23 average gigs. So our live bandwidth right now is actually 8.29. And look, 100% success, 0 unsuccessful. So that's it. Problem solved. Basically what we're saying is that you have to have, if you do a trunk port and you do a VLAN on that trunk port on the CyberFlood virtual router, then the host subnet that is using that virtual router also has to have the VLAN tag in it as well. And that's it. Hope you had a lot of fun. And I'm out. See ya.